So the time is 8:06 p.m. Let's go ahead and open the public hearing on the third of three hearings this evening. This is PDP 210016, Sit and Stay Dog Bar, and I believe, Mr. Mapes, this is your project as well. You want to give us a quick overview?
Yes, hello. Thank you. In fact, it's me, it's the same me, and it's the same planning firm that's going to be presenting. Different staff member from them, but same firm. I will share my screen. So, Sit and Stay Dog Bar. This will be the first in the city. And I don't know if there's anybody here. Katie, are there any public citizens here?
I do see a few on the call, yes.
Marcus, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm definitely, because we may have some folks that dialed in later knowing that this was the third hearing. So let me run through this. Thank you, Clark, for having this slide available. So for members of the public that are participating tonight or attending this hearing virtually, when we get to the public comment portion of the hearing, which will come after the applicant and staff have had an opportunity to present the project, then if you would like to ask questions, or if you have input on the project that you think is important for me to take into consideration when I am completing my review of the materials and issuing a decision, then please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen in Zoom, or if you're dialing in, please dial *9. At that point, city staff will see that you have comments, and we'll get you in the queue to participate in the public comment portion of the hearing. And Clark, if you'd like to advance to the next slide, I can do a short overview of the order of proceedings. So as I just mentioned, Mr. Mapes will give a very brief introduction. We'll turn it over to the applicant team for a presentation on the project. Mr. Mapes will then give a more in-depth staff presentation. At that point, we will open it up to public comment, and then the applicant and staff will both have an opportunity to answer questions or provide additional input in response to the issues that are raised during public comment. I am required by the Land Use Code to submit a written decision within 10 business days of the conclusion of the hearing. And with that, I will turn it back over to you, Clark. And let me just quickly note for those members of the public that may have joined a little bit later, that I did note at the beginning of the consolidated public hearing tonight on these three projects that all public notice was provided regarding this project. Specifically, mail notice was provided on November 15th. Notice of tonight's hearing was published in the Fort Collins Coloradoan on November 18th. So I do have jurisdiction to hear this matter tonight. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Clark.
All right, thanks. Again, to the applicants, let me give you a heads up that this is very brief. And in fact, later after your presentation, when it comes to staff analysis and further presentation, I don't have much on this. We're at North College Avenue, a little ways up the street from the previous project. There's a shopping center here at the corner of North College Avenue and Willocks Lane. 1990s shopping center, Country Club Corners. The property is just essentially a pad site within that shopping center area. It's now considered a lot within the Country Club Corners Shopping Center. It's the last parcel available for development. You do see land here. This is a detention pond, and another story, not for this, but it's possible that in the future this could someday be developed with some downstream stormwater drainage pipe work. But essentially the last available parcel within a finished shopping center. which made it fairly straightforward and simple. Zoning, it's just embedded well within the service commercial zoning district that we actually discussed on the previous project. It's a wide-ranging zone district, allows all kinds of commercial, residential, some semi-industrial, some light industrial type uses, and all of the uses proposed here, dog kennel, dog daycare, restaurant, bar, are well within the zoning, the scope of the zoning. That's all I'm going to say at this point, and we can see what the applicants would like to present.
Thank you, Clark. So Russell Lee with Ripley Design. And just want to make sure that I can, everybody sees my screen okay? So, yep. So I'm here representing the team. You can see the members on the team here, and we'll be available for questions in the end. We are presenting the Sit and Stay Dog Park Type 1 hearing on this date, November 30th. Just a little overview on what this is. It's fairly unique. It's a dining, it's a place to eat. It's a place to recreate with your dogs. It's a place to bring your dog when you can't take care of your dog. It's a place to rent, to utilize for parties. It's going to have a restaurant, and it's this really unique feature that is great with its proximity to Old Town and the neighboring areas around it. Something similar is, and probably fairly well known, is Bark in Kansas City. It was one of the first major one of these types of uses. I won't go into this much, other than Clark did a good job of standing where the site is, and we're kind of centered here. It's the existing commercial area. Similar side of what Clark had. We're in the middle, we're smack dab in the middle of the CS zone district. One thing I did want to point out is we are flanked by 2 private drives. So that's how we're accessing the site. So when you look at the site in more detail, that's where we are, coming off of Bristlecone into these private drives here. And then here's our site. So the building really has 2 uses in it. It's got a doggy daycare area to the north, and north being to the right. And then it's got a restaurant area to the south. And this is our main entrance. Patrons would come in here and they would check their dogs in, release them into the unleashed zone, and or check them into doggy daycare, and then proceed over to the restaurant to enjoy socializing with humans and dogs at the same time. We will, within the open space, there's going to be another bar area, refreshment area here, as well as a covered stage for events and or entertainment. Service entrance will be on the east side of the building as well. And the one thing I wanted to point out, with the nature of this site, we're blessed with 44% open space, which is great. They will have be able to block off areas for private dog parties. Again, access to the site is through these private drives, and then we will be continuing the walk that already exists in front of this commercial center. It'll carry through and then connect back into the existing walk system here as well. As far as parking goes, we have 92 vehicles we can park. 60 vehicles were required, but we were able to get 92 on the site, which we thought was great. And then a large bike parking area here that exceeds the standards as well. We have David Karen with VFLA. I'm going to let him kind of hop on and discuss the architecture.
Thank you, Russ. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
I can hear you just fine, David.
All right, thank you. So the building has undergone a few iterations through the process, resulting in the building we have now. If you go back to the site plan real quick, Russ, one thing we really wanted to maintain, and is while we don't have streets, to maintain some of the consistent language and the land use code for the architecture, is you wanted to align with the adjacent building property to maintain a constant sort of a street front look, which then begins to peel away to create a very large plaza park. And while we're still kind of keeping the corners of our property accented with the stage and the bar accessory structures. So that's how the current project has formed. And then if you go back to the elevation slide, previous one. So what we wanted to do is, at one point, this was a 2-story project, but then we turned it back to a 1-story project, but we wanted to maintain that 2-story height. And that entrance, which is what you see there, is kind of that brown beige stucco with the signage. You know, we wanted to really have that presence, you know, from College, since this is a difficult site being so far recessed from any street. So we wanted to be able to have that presence, and having a double height entry feature right in the middle of the building. It's very well established on the site, really helps to drive the public to this project, and it's visible, and it would be more visible from College between the single-story structures already existing on College, and the single-story building respects existing scale. This is kind of the reverse side of the building. It's mostly utilitarian in nature. You see the overhead doors. That's how the dog daycare is going to have indoor-outdoor play. And then on the north is what are dubbed the luxury boarding kennels. So they have indoor-outdoor access as well within their own private kennel. And that's what faces the adjacent strip mall type building to the north of us.
That's looks nicer than my college accommodation. So one question I have, and this maybe for the applicant team or staff, is will the dogs actually be allowed inside the restaurant space? I mean, and the reason I ask is that I know in some other jurisdictions that became an issue from a health code perspective. I mean, is it that the dogs remain outside in the unleashed zone and are not actually present where the food service is occurring, or what's the business plan, I guess?
Yeah, so there's an extensive gating system associated with this. So yeah, the idea is no, the dogs will not be on the eating zone. So where people exit the patio, we have multiple gates, similar to what you would see at a dog park, just to keep dogs from escaping or getting where they're not supposed to. So there's a fairly elaborate fencing gating system associated with the project, just to ensure that stays separate.
And many of the same restrictions apply in Fort Collins. There is no dogs in food service areas per the health department. So that doesn't change here either.
Okay, great. I just wanted to confirm that.
Sure.
I don't want to be the one responsible for creating an issue, right?
Yeah. Well, and then I just, here's some, again, you kind of saw this 3D view of this is the main entrance, and what David had talked about, kind of popping the top here to get that entry feel, that entry presence. Here's a aerial view, so you can kind of see how everything's interacting. Here's here's all the fencing around everything, right? It's fairly, and this doesn't show the amount of detail, but you'd be surprised at how complicated it can be.
This is actually pretty early rendering too, because
yeah,
it's even changed a lot since then.
But this gives you kind of a general idea of how it's all going to function. And then, that the patrons can be down here with their dogs. That is obviously encouraged.
Sure.
And this would be where the stage is. This is that adjacent retail. Like you said, we're trying to line up with to continue that architectural facade through there.
Okay, and that's all intended. I can review the landscaping plan in detail, but that's all natural grass.
This is all artificial turf.
Oh, okay, great.
Yep.
Because that was going to be one of my questions. Because
so I should have mentioned.
Anytime you see any sort of dog park, it starts off with being landscaped.
Exactly.
Turns to dirt.
So this will all be artificial. So it will have the green look, but it will be obviously designed to be maintained for a dog park. And then, we just wanted to point out where the architecture is meeting the land use code. We're matching, we're being compatible with the adjacent architecture. We're respecting the scale and materials. We do feel like we're consistent with the North College Corridor plan, especially the architectural requirements in that. We're trying to build off the existing relationships. We're varying the massing to try to bring scale to the building, appropriate scale. We do have that really prominent entrance, clearly defined, coming right in. Very, very proud, large plaza to come in and out of as well. And lots of articulation in the building, both on the main side and the back side as well. Like Clark said, this is a lot. It's already in a commercial zone. It meets all of the standards of the land use code. And I just wanted to hit on some of the highlights of just the bigger picture stuff. This is in the urban mixed use place type within the structure plan, and that does promote restaurants. It also likes to have things close to transit, and there will be a future rapid transit stops. College Avenue will be a future rapid transit route. City plan principle LIV2 promotes infill development, which is exactly what we're doing. This is underutilized property. Obviously, it's been sitting there since the 90s, ready to be redeveloped. It's infill, and again, it's close to the transit stop. And I thought this was a great principle that's in the new city plan. Support local, unique, and creative businesses. That's what was the most exciting thing when Patrick, the applicant developer, came to talk to us about this. We all were super excited about it. It's just such a unique experience, a unique thing for this region, for the state even, and it's just a really fun project to have. And if it does get approved and get built, it will be a great thing to say, hey, I helped with this, or we all helped with this. So I just want to leave the note last that, the plan meets the land use code standards. No modifications or alternative compliance are required or requested. So with that, we'll open it up to comments.
Great. Thank you, Russ. I appreciate that overview. So Clark, maybe I'll turn it back over to you. Do you have a staff presentation that you'd like to run through at this point? This would probably be a good opportunity for me just to disclose on the record that I own 2 dogs, a Husky mix and an Aussie Doodle. But even though I own 2 dogs, I believe I can make a fair and impartial decision in this matter based upon the facts that are presented in the hearing tonight. And but anyway, I tend to agree, Russ, that it looks to be a pretty neat concept, pretty innovative, creative land use, pretty exciting. But Clark, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you. This is my analysis. Again, as I mentioned, because this is a pad site in a developed shopping center, already has the vehicular access. You see the parking and the walkways being added, which will actually, the walkways and landscaping will actually set an enhanced standard of quality in this shopping center. I believe, I don't have the staff report in front of me. I may have mentioned the architectural materials, and I may have mentioned, I thought that some of what is lap siding was metal. So if you see a listing of materials and you see metal in the staff report, if you do see that, I see that that's not right, but it doesn't matter. The materials are fine, the building architecture is fine, and so on, as has been presented. I was going to suggest one condition, and that is that this somehow include a space where I and others, I can bring my cat and others can bring their cats, where they can safely sit there and watch the dogs acting ridiculous. But with that condition, this is, unless there are questions, there's nothing else really to analyze. under the land use code. I better stop.
Okay, Clark, I thank you for that. Katie, let's go ahead and open this up for public comment, and thank you to members of the public that have stayed with us through 3 hearings tonight. It's 8:26 p.m. I'll open the public comment portion of the hearing on PDP 210016.
Sure. So far, we have one hand raised. So I'm going to allow Tess Jones to speak. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tess Jones. I'm a resident here in North Fort Collins. I personally do have 2 dogs and love this idea. I will say that Fort Collins needs more dog boarding options. So I do like that this one has a mixture of both indoor and outdoor dog areas, as well as live music and events. It sounds like a really cool place for dog owners to get together with community and also have their dogs explore the parks. So I do really like this idea.
Tess, can I grab your address for the record?
Yeah, it's 1212 Raintree Drive, Fort Collins, 80526.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Katie, do we have anybody else that is signed up or has their hand raised?
Yes. Next up is Courtney. Courtney, you should be able to unmute yourself if you could state your name and address for the record.
Hi, yeah, my name is Courtney. I live here in Fort Collins at 1118 Ridgelawn Drive. I just wanted to chime in because I saw this article about Sit and Stay Dog Bar, and I was really thrilled to hear that such a unique and exciting place could be coming up in Fort Collins. And one of the things that I love about Fort Collins is how dog friendly it is. And a dog bar where I could get together with my friends while also letting my dog run around and socialize would accent a dog lover's values like mine greatly.
Okay. Next up, we have Melinda Smith. Melinda, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi there. My name is Melinda Smith. I'm a resident in North Fort Collins. I've lived here for a long time and I'm a dog owner, and I'm just really excited about this idea. It's very unique and not like anything else that we have in Fort Collins. So I just wanted to drop a note expressing support for this project.
Can I grab your address for the record, Melinda?
Sure. It is 1118 Ridgelawn Drive, Fort Collins.
And I do not see any more hands raised at this time.
Okay, thank you, Katie. Let's go ahead and close the public comment portion of the hearing at 8:30 p.m. I did not, in those comments that were offered, hear any concerns or questions per se, but if the applicant's team or city staff would like to provide any additional comment or final any final comments whatsoever for my consideration, now would be the time.
I think we're pretty good.
Okay, thank you, Russ. Mr. Mapes, anything from city staff?
Thank you. Thank you. Nope.
Okay, well, thank you all for your patience this evening and for being the 3rd out of 3 hearings this evening. As I mentioned at the beginning, when we were going through the order of proceedings, I am required to issue a written decision within 10 business days of the conclusion of tonight's hearing. So thank you all for your participation. I will close the public hearing on this matter officially at 8:31 p.m. And I hope everybody has a good rest of your evening.